thought leaders or authorities or whatever you want to call them, they, I believe, claim number one position in their niche as recognized by the market when they deliver breakthrough ideas that take off. So Seth Godin had Purple Gal, Donald Miller had StoryBrand, Cal Newport had Deep Work. And sometimes people have more than one signature idea, right? But the one or the several signature ideas transform them from respected experts into undisputed authorities. And those ideas form the foundation of their books, their talks, their high-ticket consulting offers. So there's transformative value to be found in finding this breakthrough idea. But here's what I think is the interesting part. I believe that many consultants have this breakthrough idea within them, but they haven't found it yet because they're approaching the entire process 180 degrees backwards. And until they flip that, they're never going to find it. Here's a quote from a consultant I've worked with in the past, and I want you to tell me if this sounds familiar. I add value in a lot of places, but I struggle to see what I'm most excellent at. I know there's a pure gem buried inside of me. If I could find the one thing that's most valuable to the world that shows I go against the grain, I double or triple down on that. And when I study the undisputed authorities that found that, I've noticed a consistent behavioral pattern amongst those that developed the popular signature idea. And it's a pattern that's entirely absent in those that are still searching and yet to find one. It's not that he isn't smart enough, it's that he lacks this specific approach to specialization that becomes obvious when you examine someone like April Dunford. So April is best-selling author of Obviously Awesome, 7-figure SaaS positioning consultant expert who sells 3-day workshops, $80,000 a workshop, speaks on the biggest stages in the world. But she didn't start her consultant career as a positioning expert, right? She was an in-house VP of marketing who left employment to become a fractional CMO, so a generalist marketer, until she pivoted.
A lot of consultants, they shy away from getting too narrow on something like that because it feels scary. And at the beginning, it does feel kind of scary because I shifted the positioning and said, no, I only do positioning work and here's what it looks like. And I do a workshop and it costs this much. And then someone would call and say, yeah, but we don't really want that. We want you to come in and do that fractional CMO thing. And you have to say, no, I'm not doing that business anymore. And when you're broke, it's hard to say no to that. And then you also have to feel some confidence that the thing is going to work. So at the beginning, I was doing a little bit of half and half until I felt good that I had the right offering and it was working. And then I just had to completely turn my back on the other stuff and work on building a position in the market for myself with the content I was creating and the talks I was doing. And then eventually I wrote the book. And that has literally been night and day difference in my business. I went from this sort of generic consulting business. I wasn't making very good money. I was making okay, but it was kind of like the same before I became a consultant, except I was working way harder and way longer hours. And my clients, some of them were happy and some of them were just so. Whereas now I'm booked up 3-4 months in advance. My rates are way higher, our work way less. And my clients are way happier because I only promise to do this one very narrow thing, but it's a super valuable thing. And if you got this problem, who else are you going to call?
So April Dunford is booked out months in advance for this $80,000 workshop. She has no competition. She can point you, Mr. or Ms. Prospect, to 15 other clients who look just like you, who she's helped solve this specific problem that you're suffering from. She is the undisputed authority in her niche. And I get that this might sound like a familiar story, that April found her success by picking the one thing she'd specialize in, which in her case is positioning for B2B tech. But that's not the approach. It's actually the other way around. In order to become the authority in one area, she had to close the doors on all the other opportunities, right? The half dozen other services she could have offered as a former successful VP of marketing. And they were services that other people were asking for, they're actually paying her to fulfill. She had to close the doors on those. And there would have been other areas that April could have specialized in besides positioning, right? It's hard to believe that positioning was the only thing she was good at, considering she had a great track record of a VP marketing. And that's what the hard part is. It's not picking the thing, It's closing the doors on all the other options that might be the thing. And humans are terrible at this. Going back to the problem of finding your breakthrough idea, this is the root cause. And it's demonstrated nicely by Dan O'Reilly's doors game experiment that he conducted at MIT. So there are 3 doors on a screen. Behind each door are virtual rewards that can be converted to cash. So you, the participant, only have 100 clicks to open the doors, each with a different power range. The participants immediately figured out that the best strategy was to check each of the 3 doors and then keep opening the one with the highest payout reward. But then a new visual feature was introduced.
Every time you clicked on one door in one room, the doors to the other rooms shrunk. And if you didn't visit them for 12 clicks, they would disappear forever.
So even though they should have ignored the warning, the participants couldn't bear the pain of seeing the other 2 doors disappear. So they start wasting clicks to reopen them, and then their earnings dropped by 15%. But the question is, why would they do that?
Imagine you're in one door and you see another door that is about to disappear. Would you let it disappear? No. Turns out even though people were in a better door, the students were in a better door, in a better relationship, they went back to the inferior door just to open it up, to keep the options open.
This principle is the root cause of all our marketing problems. If I looked into my crystal ball and told you your one thing to write about, and if you wrote about it consistently for the next 12 months, you'd become the April Dunford of your industry. You'd do it, right? You'd have no problems doing it, reading around it, building an audience around it. You wouldn't hesitate, there'd be no second guessing, there'd be no fear that you picked the wrong thing. And that's the focused approach, right, that yields the big dividends fast. April Dunford left her position as VP of marketing in 2015 to become essentially a fractional CMO. By 2017, she's dialed her area of specialization down to positioning. And so she's writing blog posts about positioning. She's speaking on small stages about positioning. She's thinking about nothing other than positioning. By 2019, she published Obviously Awesome, which we know is the book that transformed her as the established authority in B2B tech positioning. So it was just 4 years. She went from generalist to specialist to the expert because she closed the doors on everything else other than B2B tech positioning. But there is no crystal ball. And that's what makes this difficult. The challenge is this gnawing doubt. What if I pick the wrong door? And with that doubt, we hesitate, we hedge our bets, we broaden our offer, the subjects we talk about, the people we're trying to serve, right? And often, I know I felt this, right? We kid ourselves that we specialize because we picked a vertical and we picked a niche, but we pick them so broad that they're redundant, right? It's like we do copywriting for B2B. But what exactly is wrong with that? What's wrong with that is you can't find your one signature breakout idea that's going to transform you to go to undisputed authority unless you pick a door and stick with it and go far deeper on a specific topic in a specific market than others are prepared to go. It's like David Foster Wallace says, good nonfiction is a chance to watch somebody reasonably bright, but also reasonably average, pay far closer attention and think at far more length about all sorts of different stuff that most of us don't have a chance to do in our daily lives. Wallace talks about nonfiction, but this 100% applies to thought leadership content. Every authority or thought leader that you admire has done that, right? They developed the discipline to close all other doors, pick one door, walk through it, and lock it, don't turn back. And in doing so, they collect far more concentrated data than their peers. They observe it at far greater length. They develop interesting insights. But to become recognized as an expert takes less time than you'd think. Hence April with 4 years, because so few people are prepared to observe one problem and write about it and think about it for a sustained period of time. So in order to find the breakthrough idea, you have to pick a door, declare that door your area of expertise, but you have to do that before you're actually the genuine expert in that area. Blair Enns talks about this in the Win Without Pitching manifesto, that you state your position before you're the expert in it, and only when you state it can you then become the expert.
I laid out 3 steps to positioning. Number 1, choose a focus, which we discussed is a combination of discipline and market. What do you do and for whom do you do it? Number 2, articulate that focus in a claim of expertise. And that's, as you've just alluded to, that's you effectively putting your flag in the ground and claiming territory. I claim this area of expertise for us. And then number 3 is to build the skills, capabilities, and processes that allow you to support that claim. And you might think, well, hold on, shouldn't you build those first and then make the claim? The claim is just the starting point, right? Now you need to build out the proof. So you could be, if you're a little unsure, if you want to do this backwards, that backwards isn't fair. What I would say is make the claim before you are perfectly comfortable making it. Your positioning, the claim that you make, can be a little bit aspirational, and recognize that the act of making the claim will hurry you up, will sharpen your focus to build the missing skills, capabilities, and processes like nothing else. So go ahead and make that claim to the world of what you want to specialize in. It's okay to be a little bit aspirational, and then once you've made the claim, now you need to work hard to make sure that you separate yourself from the pack.
Going back to that quote from the consultant client I started this video with, I add value in a lot of places, but I struggle to see what I'm most excellent at. I know there's a pure gem buried inside of me. If I could find the one thing that's most valuable to the world that shows I go against the grain, I double or triple down on that. Can you see where it's going wrong? You know, where most of us go wrong. He says, once I find the one idea, I'll double down. But it's the wrong way around. You double down and then find the idea. You close the doors.